there's been a myth that the baby boomer generation, primarily, post-King leadership, has blocked young people. By and large, they ain't had nowhere to go.
Wow.
But it wasn't nobody setting them up.
Right.
To King and Malcolm died broke.
Mm.
Most of these cats just been trying to figure out how to keep living and keep their ego intact and have a level of importance to the community. So Dorothy Height was still getting wheeled into meetings at 80-something.
Right.
And there should have been a Dorothy Height Institute for Women in Politics. There should have been a Jesse Jackson Center for presidential politics. There should have been an Abernathy Center for, prophetic faith justice work. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So none of these cats, there was no legacy fund. And our trauma kept saying, why are you hating on me as a young person? Why won't you get out of my way?
Yeah.
Their ego kept saying, I can't say I want to retire.
Wow.
Because I'm embarrassed. I don't have nowhere to go. I had a conversation with the minister, Minister Farrakhan, and I asked him once, I said, if there was one thing you could do different, what would it be? He said, Jeff, who's the leader of the Mormons? I said, I don't know. He said, they got $100 billion in investment, and you don't know who's leading them. That's what I would have done different.
Wow. Mary Evers said something to me, Mary Evers Williams, widow of Medgar Evers, the 100th anniversary of NAACP. She said to me, Jamal, you don't understand why you all are having this backup. And Jeff, when she said this, I had to clutch my pearls. She said, the leaders ahead of you only motto was death.
Yeah.
Not retirement.
It was martyrdom.
It's martyrdom. So they don't know how to make that transition. I'm thinking about Sheila Jackson Lee just passed. Mm-hmm. Amazing voice out of Houston, Texas. An icon for the Congressional Black Caucus. And we're trying to see who's coming up next for somebody 81.
Right.
And I think that we've got to make sure that
there's
we're
another piece too.
Yeah.
Right. I remember meeting Jesse Sr. for the first time, and I remember engaging Julian Bond. 2000, voter disenfranchisement. I'm down in Florida with Mr. Nfume, who at the time was the president and CEO of the NAACP. Reverend Jackson was there. We were backstage because, back then, our generation carried bags.
Yeah.
So I was carrying.
Wasn't no security.
Yeah. and what I mean was nobody expected me to be in that room speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I was there as Mr. Nfume's boy.
Yeah.
But I value that. I never will be able to be thankful enough for the people who allowed me to be in rooms I didn't work to be in, with the flexibility to not be expected to give an answer, but to be able to sit there and listen.
Yeah. And
I got more wisdom from those rooms than I would have having to come in with all the answers.
Yeah.
But Mr. Nfume walked away, and I said something to Rev, and he looked at me, turned and walked away. Didn't say nothing.
Wow.
Second time, I'm like, hey, Rev Jackson, Mr. Nfume, you remember Florida? He said, son, I don't know why you keep thinking I'm supposed to talk to you.
Is this true? Wow. You've never told me this story.
And walked away.
Wow.
I'm going to come back to that real quick because you know how Julian Bond used to treat us.
Yes.
It's like, who in the hell is all these kids under the age of 30 who think they're supposed to be on senior staff at the NAACP? It wasn't until I had done something with the head of Princeton Review, and we were challenged. Princeton Review Foundation and NAACP were working to remove the SAT as an entrance piece for college. We got a ton of press. The next time I saw him, he bumped into me. He was like, I see you. I didn't realize, Jay, these cats was risking their lives when they were in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
We was trying to get press clippings.
Yeah.
And they were offended.
Yeah.
And so there was often this inability to connect because social justice work became about celebrity and not necessarily about impact. And they never had the ability to be in these spaces and not have to worry about the FBI and not have to worry about death and not have to worry about them or their boys or their sisters becoming political prisoners. And so I just think that at least the baby boomers to Xers, there was never an accurate orientation process to what it means to be a leader in the movement.
Yeah.
And that's where that disconnect happened. And then the hip hop folks said, you know what? I don't even want to be part of this.
Yeah.
I don't want no more of this. So I'm going to start the hip hop caucus. I'm going to start the hip hop summit. I'm going to start the seeds of what will become Black Lives Matter. And it was the very trauma of the movement that blocked relationship and thus continuity.
Wow. No. And where do you see it showing itself up in this iteration while we now have a Black woman running for president?
I think we're constantly struggling between cultural significance and political economic impact. I'm beginning to see people make the same mistake we made with Obama. And that is Negroes acted like we was electing a superhero.
Yeah.
Or a second coming of Jesus. There wasn't any real assessment of this is a president who's going to have limitations, who does not have a ton of political history and is coming in relatively junior, which is why Biden was his running mate, because he was the senior statesman.
Right.
And as a result, we felt afraid to hold Obama accountable in certain areas because we were protecting the cultural moment versus helping Obama through us pushing him to do things that he wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.